My name is David Mitchell, and I install security systems for a living. Ironic, considering I couldn't secure my own damn marriage. It was 11:47 p.m. on a Tuesday when my world imploded, not with some dramatic confrontation, but with the mundane discovery of crumpled receipts falling out of my wife Emily's purse as I searched for car keys. The Grandview Hotel, $247.83. Room service for two. The Grandview Hotel, $189.50. Champagne and strawberries. The Grandview Hotel, $312.67. Extended checkout. Shit, I muttered, my hands trembling as I spread them out like a dealer shuffling cards. Each receipt was dated within the last month, always on days when Emily claimed to be working late at her tech firm downtown. I heard her key in the lock and quickly shoved the receipts into my jacket pocket. Emily walked in, looking radiant in that particular way that should have been reserved for me. Her hair was slightly mussed, lipstick faded, and she had that satisfied glow that I hadn't seen directed at me in months. "Hey, honey," she said, not quite meeting my eyes. "Sorry I'm so late. Big presentation tomorrow." "How'd the presentation prep go?" I asked, my voice steadier than I felt. "Oh, boring corporate stuff. Marcus from marketing helped out. We ordered Chinese and worked until almost midnight." Marcus. The name hit me like a punch to the gut. Marcus Webb, her smooth-talking co-worker who drove a Tesla and wore suits that cost more than my monthly mortgage payment. I'd met him at the company Christmas party last year, tall, confident, with the kind of easy charm that made other men feel inadequate. "That was nice of Marcus," I said. Emily shrugged, already heading upstairs. "He's very dedicated to the team." I'll bet he is, I thought. After she went to bed, I sat in my garage workshop, staring at those receipts under the harsh fluorescent light. 23 years of marriage reduced to itemized bills for adultery. The security cameras I'd been repairing for a client seemed to mock me. All this technology to protect other people's property, and I couldn't even protect my own marriage. My phone buzzed. A text from my brother-in-law, Jake. "Hey man, can Lisa and the kids crash at your place for a few weeks? She's between apartments and things are tight." Lisa. Emily's entitled younger sister, who treated my house like a hotel and my wallet like her personal ATM. The woman who'd never worked a real job in her life, but somehow always had opinions about how everyone else should live theirs. "How long is a few weeks?" I texted back. "Maybe a month? 2 at most. She's got 3 kids now and her boyfriend Rick. They're really good people, David. Just down on their luck." 3 kids and a boyfriend I'd never met. In my house, while my marriage was disintegrating. "Fine," I texted back, "but just until she gets on her feet." I looked at those hotel receipts again. Maybe having house guests would be a good thing. Maybe it would distract me from the fact that my wife was screwing her co-worker in overpriced hotel rooms while I fixed other people's security systems and pretended everything was fine. The next morning, Emily was already gone when I woke up. Another early meeting, according to the note she'd left on the coffee maker. I called in sick to work and drove to the Grandview Hotel. "Excuse me," I said to the desk clerk, a young woman with perfectly straight teeth and a practiced smile. "I think my wife may have left her earrings in one of your rooms. She was here yesterday with a colleague for a business meeting. I'm sorry, sir, but I can't give out information about our guests." I pulled out my phone and showed her a photo of Emily. "Her name is Emily Mitchell. She was probably with a tall guy, dark hair, expensive suit." The desk clerk's expression shifted slightly. "Oh, Mr. and Mrs. Webb, yes, they're regular guests, very nice couple, but I'm afraid housekeeping hasn't reported any jewelry." "Mr. and Mrs. Webb?" My wife was using her lover's last name. I thanked the clerk and walked back to my truck, my hands shaking so badly I could barely get the key in the ignition. 23 years of marriage, and she was playing house with another man using his name. That evening, Lisa arrived with her entourage. The boyfriend, Rick, turned out to be a skinny guy with neck tattoos and an attitude that suggested the world owed him something. The 3 kids, ages 6, 9, and 12, immediately began treating my house like their personal playground. "David!" Lisa squealed, giving me a hug that smelled like cigarettes and cheap perfume. You're such a lifesaver. Rick and I are going through a rough patch financially, but things are looking up. What kind of work are you looking for? I asked Rick. He shrugged. I'm more of an entrepreneur, working on some online ventures, cryptocurrency, you know? Of course. A cryptocurrency entrepreneur with neck tattoos living in my guest room. We'll stay out of your way, Lisa promised. The kids are angels and Rick is super handy. He can help with projects around the house. Within 2 hours, the 6-year-old had broken a lamp, the 9-year-old had clogged the downstairs toilet, and the 12-year-old was blasting music from his phone while sprawled across my couch. Rick was in my kitchen, eating my food and explaining to anyone who'd listen why traditional employment was a scam designed to keep the common man down. Emily came home to chaos. Kids running around, Rick holding court at the dinner table, Lisa making herself at home in ways that would have impressed a conquering army. What the hell is this? Emily asked, pulling me aside. Your sister needed a place to stay. Jake asked if they could crash here for a few weeks. You should have asked me first. Like you asked me before working late with Marcus? The words slipped out before I could stop them. Emily's face went pale, then flushed red. What's that supposed to mean? Nothing. I'm just saying we both make decisions without consulting the other person. She stared at me for a long moment, and I could see her trying to figure out how much I knew. Finally, she just shook her head and went upstairs. 3 days into the Lisa invasion, my house had been transformed into a disaster zone. Rick had decided my garage was the perfect place to set up his cryptocurrency mining operation, which consisted of a laptop, some extension cords, and a lot of conspiracy theories about government surveillance. The kids treated every surface like a jungle gym, and Lisa had somehow convinced herself that being a house guest meant she was entitled to redecorate. David, honey, she said, cornering me as I tried to escape to work. I was thinking we could move some furniture around. Make the space more feng shui, you know? More positive energy flow. The furniture is fine where it is, Lisa. But Rick says the couch is blocking the prosperity corner. If we move it to face the window, it could improve your financial situation. I looked at Rick, who was eating my cereal straight from the box while explaining to the 12-year-old why school was a form of government brainwashing. My financial situation is fine, I said. Well, if it was really fine, you'd probably have a bigger house, right? I mean, Emily makes good money at that tech company. You guys should be living better than this. The comment stung because it echoed things Emily had been saying lately. How Marcus had just bought a condo downtown. How her friend Jennifer's husband had started his own consulting firm and was making 6 figures. How maybe I lacked ambition. This house is plenty big enough, I said. For now, maybe. But what about when you guys have kids? We've been trying for kids for 5 years, Lisa. Oh. She looked genuinely surprised. Emily never mentioned that. She always talks about how much she loves kids, how she can't wait to be a mom. Another knife twist. Emily used to talk about having kids. Now she spent her evenings working late with Marcus. I escaped to work, where I spent the day installing security cameras in a law office downtown. The lawyer, a sharp-eyed woman named Patricia Hoffman, noticed I was distracted. Everything okay? She asked. You seem a little off your game today. Just some family stuff. My sister-in-law is staying with us temporarily. Ah, house guests. They're like fish. They start to smell after 3 days. I laughed despite myself. That's about right. You know, I do a lot of family law, divorce, custody, that sort of thing. If you ever need someone to talk to about legal options, here's my card. I took the card. Not sure why. Maybe because having it made me feel like I had options, even if I wasn't ready to use them. That evening, I came home to find Rick in my living room with 2 friends, all of them drinking my beer and loudly discussing their latest get-rich-quick scheme. David! Rick called out. Perfect timing! We were just talking about you. Were you? Yeah, man. You're in security, right? We've got this idea for an app that would revolutionize home security. All we need is someone with technical expertise to help us develop it. And what would I get out of this partnership? Equity, man. When this thing takes off, we're all going to be millionaires. His friends nodded enthusiastically. They looked like the kind of guys who'd been chasing the next big thing their entire adult lives, always one brilliant idea away from success. "Thanks, but I'm not interested," I said. Rick's expression soured. "Come on, don't be like that. This is a real opportunity. You could quit that job fixing other people's cameras and be your own boss." "I like my job." "Really? Because from where I sit, it looks like you're stuck in a rut. Emily's moving up in the world, making real money, and you're still crawling around installing equipment for other people." The room went quiet. Even Rick's friends seemed to sense he'd crossed a line. "Rick," Lisa said from the kitchen, "maybe you should—" "No, it's fine," I said. "Rick's entitled to his opinion, just like I'm entitled to mine. And my opinion is that my house isn't the place for business meetings with people I don't know." Rick stood up, his chest puffed out. "Are you asking us to leave?" "I'm asking you to respect the fact that this is my home, not your office." "Wow, okay, I see how it is." He and his friends gathered their beers and moved the party to the back patio, where they continued their conversation in voices just loud enough to make sure I could hear every word about what a uptight asshole I was. Emily came home an hour later looking frazzled. "Long day?" I asked. "The longest. We're launching a new product next month, and everything that could go wrong is going wrong." She paused. "Marcus stayed late to help me work through some of the technical issues." "That was nice of him. He's really dedicated. Most people would have gone home hours ago." "I'll bet he's dedicated," I thought. "Dedicated to getting into your pants." "David," Emily continued, "we need to talk about your sister." "She's your sister." "You know what I mean. This situation is getting out of hand. Rick is treating our house like his personal headquarters, the kids are destroying everything, and Lisa acts like she owns the place. I thought family was supposed to help each other out. Helping out is one thing. This is something else entirely. Today I found Rick going through our mail. When I asked him what he was doing, he said he was looking for business opportunities." "What kind of business opportunities?" "Credit card offers, mostly. He said he wanted to see what kind of credit lines we qualified for." A chill ran down my spine. "Please tell me you didn't let him see anything important." "Of course not. But David, this can't continue. They need to find somewhere else to live." For once, Emily and I were in complete agreement. The irony wasn't lost on me. The only thing bringing us together these days was our mutual desire to get rid of her family. "I'll talk to Lisa tomorrow," I said. "Good. Because I can't deal with this on top of everything else at work." That night, I lay awake listening to Rick and his friends on the patio, their voices carrying through the open window. They were talking about me, about Emily, about our house and our marriage with the casual cruelty of people who thought they were entitled to judge everyone around them. "The guy's a loser," Rick was saying. "No ambition, no vision. Emily's way out of his league." "How'd they even end up together?" one of his friends asked. "High school sweethearts, from what Lisa tells me. Emily was probably different back then. Now she's this successful businesswoman, and he's still the same small-time guy he's always been." "She's probably looking for an upgrade," another friend said. "Hot, successful woman like that? She's got options." They all laughed, and I felt something cold and hard settle in my chest. These people were living in my house, eating my food, drinking my beer, and talking about my marriage like it was their personal entertainment. I got up and closed the window, but their laughter seemed to follow me into my dreams. The next morning, I woke up to find Rick in my kitchen, going through my mail. Not just looking at it, actually opening envelopes and reading the contents. "What the hell are you doing?" I demanded. Rick looked up casually, as if rifling through someone else's correspondence was perfectly normal behavior. "Just checking to see if you got any good offers. This credit card company is offering 0% interest for 18 months. You could leverage that for some serious investment opportunities. That's my mail." "Relax, man. I'm trying to help you out here. You've got good credit, but you're not using it strategically. With the right approach, you could turn this into serious money." I snatched the opened envelopes from his hands. "Don't touch my mail again." "Whoa, okay. No need to get hostile. I was just trying to—" "I don't care what you were trying to do. This is my house, my mail, my life. You don't get to go through it like you're shopping at a garage sale." Rick's expression hardened. "You know what your problem is, David? You're afraid of success. You're so comfortable being mediocre that you can't recognize opportunity when it's staring you in the face. And your problem is that you think other people owe you something. I don't think anyone owes me anything. I just think life's too short to play it safe all the time. Playing it safe is how I've managed to keep a roof over my head for 23 years. Yeah, and look where it's gotten you. A house you can barely afford, a job that's going nowhere, and a wife who— Finish that sentence, I said quietly. I dare you. Rick must have seen something in my expression that warned him off, because he held up his hands and backed away. Look, I didn't mean anything by it. I'm just saying you could do better for yourself. Lisa chose that moment to walk into the kitchen, her timing as terrible as always. What's going on? She asked. I could hear you guys from upstairs. Your boyfriend was going through my mail, I said. Rick, we talked about this, Lisa said, but her tone was more exasperated than angry, like he was a misbehaving child rather than a grown man violating my privacy. I was trying to help, Rick protested. The guy's sitting on a gold mine and doesn't even know it. It's not your gold mine to sit on, I said. Lisa sighed. David, I know Rick can be a little enthusiastic about business opportunities, but his heart's in the right place. His heart can be in whatever place it wants. His hands need to stay out of my mail. Fine. Rick won't touch your mail anymore, right, Rick? Rick shrugged. Whatever. I was just trying to help the guy see his potential. That afternoon, I called my best friend Tom Bradley. We'd known each other since high school, and he was one of the few people I trusted completely. Tom ran an auto body shop across town and had always been straight with me about everything. I need to talk to someone, I said when he answered. Come on over, I'm working on a '67 Mustang that'll make you forget all your troubles. Tom's shop was exactly the kind of place I needed. Honest work, straightforward problems, and solutions that didn't require a committee meeting. I found him elbow deep in an engine, his coveralls stained with grease, and his face focused on the task at hand. So, what's eating you? He asked without looking up. I told him everything. The hotel receipts, Emily's late nights with Marcus, Lisa and Rick turning my house into a circus, the growing sense that my entire life was spinning out of control. Tom listened without interrupting, occasionally nodding or making small sounds of understanding. When I finished, he wiped his hands on a rag and looked at me directly. How long have you suspected about Emily? He asked. Part of me has known for months, but I kept telling myself I was being paranoid. And now you're sure? Hotel receipts don't lie, and the desk clerk called them Mr. and Mrs. Webb. Tom whistled low. That's cold. The worst part is, I don't even know if I'm more angry about the affair or the fact that she's using his name. Both, Tom said. You're allowed to be angry about both. What would you do? Tom was quiet for a long moment, considering. Honestly, I'd probably want to punch the guy, but that wouldn't solve anything, and it would probably make things worse. So what then? Get your ducks in a row, document everything, talk to a lawyer, figure out what you want your life to look like after this is over. What if I'm wrong? What if there's some explanation I'm not seeing? Then you ask her directly. But David, you've got to be prepared for the answer you don't want to hear. That evening, I decided to take Tom's advice. I waited until Lisa had corralled her kids upstairs and Rick was on the patio with his laptop, presumably mining cryptocurrency or planning his next entrepreneurial venture. Emily, I said, we need to talk. She looked up from her phone where she'd been texting someone. What about us, about where we stand? Something flickered across her face. Guilt, maybe, or fear. Is this about Lisa and Rick? Because I agree they need to find somewhere else to live. It's not about Lisa and Rick. Then what? I pulled out the hotel receipts and placed them on the coffee table between us. Emily's face went white, then red, then white again. Where did you get these? She asked. They fell out of your purse. You went through my purse? I was looking for car keys. They fell out. Emily stared at the receipts like they were evidence of a crime she'd forgotten committing. David, I can explain. I'm sure you can. But before you do, I want you to know that I called the hotel. The desk clerk knows you and Marcus as Mr. and Mrs. Webb. The silence stretched between us like a chasm, Upstairs, I could hear Lisa's kids arguing about something. On the patio, Rick was talking loudly on his phone about blockchain technology, normal domestic sounds that made the moment feel even more surreal. "How long?" I asked. "It's not what you think." "How long, Emily?" She closed her eyes. 3 months. "Are you in love with him?" "I don't know. Maybe. It's complicated." "It's not complicated. Either you love him or you don't." "David, you don't understand. Things between us have been difficult for a long time. We've grown apart. We want different things." "What things? What do you want that I haven't given you?" "Excitement. Ambition. Someone who challenges me intellectually." Each word was a small slap. "And Marcus does that?" "Yes, he does." "So what now?" Emily looked at me with something that might have been pity. "I think we both know this marriage has been over for a while. We've just been going through the motions." "I haven't been going through the motions." "Haven't you? When's the last time we had a real conversation about anything that mattered? When's the last time we made plans for the future?" "We talk all the time. We talk about groceries and bills and whose turn it is to take out the trash. That's not a marriage, David. That's a roommate situation." I wanted to argue, but part of me knew she was right. We had become roommates, polite, distant roommates who shared a bed and a mortgage, but not much else. "So you decided to find excitement with Marcus." "I didn't plan for it to happen. It just did." "Bullshit. You don't accidentally book hotel rooms. You don't accidentally use someone else's name." Emily's composure finally cracked. "Fine. You want the truth?" "Yes, I'm having an affair. Yes, I'm probably in love with him. And yes, I've been thinking about leaving you for months." "Then why haven't you—" "Because I kept hoping things would get better between us. Because I didn't want to hurt you. Because ending a 23-year marriage isn't something you do lightly." "But screwing your coworker in hotel rooms is—" "That's not fair." "Fair? You want to talk about fair? Fair would have been talking to me before you started sleeping with Marcus. Fair would have been marriage counseling or separation or any of a dozen other options that didn't involve betraying our wedding vows. Don't act like you're the perfect husband, David. You've been emotionally absent for years." "So this is my fault?" "It's both our faults. We let our marriage die and now we're fighting over the corpse." The front door slammed and Rick walked in with his laptop and a 6-pack of my beer. "Hey guys," he said cheerfully, apparently oblivious to the tension in the room. "Hope you don't mind. I grabbed some beer from the fridge. Lisa's putting the kids to bed, and I thought we could all hang out, maybe talk about some business opportunities." Emily and I stared at him, then at each other. The moment was so absurd that I almost laughed. "Actually, Rick," I said, "now's not a good time." "Oh, come on. All work and no play, right? Besides, I've got this new idea that could make us all rich." "Rick," Emily said sharply, "David and I are having a private conversation." Okay. I can take a hint." He grabbed his beer and headed for the patio. "But when you're ready to hear about the future of digital marketing, I'm your guy." After he left, Emily and I sat in silence for several minutes. The weight of 23 years pressed down on us like a physical thing. "What happens now?" I asked. "I don't know. I need time to think." "Are you going to keep seeing Marcus?" "I don't know that either." "That's not an answer, Emily. It's the only answer I have right now." She went upstairs, leaving me alone with the hotel receipts and the wreckage of my marriage. Outside, Rick was on the phone again, his voice carrying through the window as he pitched his latest scheme to some poor bastard who probably just wanted to eat dinner in peace. I gathered up the receipts and put them in my jacket pocket. Tom was right. I needed to get my ducks in a row, but first, I needed to figure out what I wanted my life to look like when this was all over. The next few days passed in a strange, suspended animation. Emily and I moved around each other like polite strangers, maintaining the facade of normalcy while our marriage crumbled beneath us. Lisa seemed oblivious to the tension, chattering about her plans to redecorate the guest room and Rick's latest business venture. Rick himself had become even more insufferable, treating my house like his personal office and my possessions like community property. I threw myself into work, taking on extra jobs and staying late to avoid going home. But even the familiar routine of installing security cameras and troubleshooting alarm systems couldn't distract me from the growing certainty that my life was falling apart. On Thursday evening, I came home to find Rick in my home office, using my computer. "What are you doing?" I asked. "Just checking some cryptocurrency prices," Rick said without looking up. "Your internet is faster than the Wi-Fi upstairs." "Get out of my office." "Relax, man, I'm not hurting anything." I said get out. Rick finally looked at me, and something in my expression must have convinced him I was serious. He held up his hands and stood up. Okay, no need to get all territorial. This is my territory. This is my house, my office, my computer. You don't get to use any of it without asking." I don't care what you were just doing. From now on, you ask before you touch anything that belongs to me." Rick's face darkened. "You know what, David? I'm getting real tired of your attitude. And I'm getting real tired of you treating my home like your personal playground. Maybe the problem isn't me. Maybe the problem is that you're so uptight you can't handle having real people around." "Real people? Is that what you call someone who goes through other people's mail and uses their computer without permission?" "I call that being part of a family. But I guess you wouldn't understand that, would you? You're so busy keeping score and protecting your precious stuff that you can't see the bigger picture." "What bigger picture?" "That Lisa and I are trying to build something here. We're trying to create opportunities, make connections, improve our situation. But all you can do is complain about every little thing." "Every little thing?" "Rick, you've been here less than a week and you've already violated my privacy, disrespected my home, and treated me like I owe you something. That's not family. That's freeloading." Lisa appeared in the doorway, drawn by our raised voices. "What's going on?" she asked. "Your boyfriend thinks he's entitled to use my computer without asking," I said. "Rick, we talked about this," Lisa said, but again her tone was more tired than angry. "The guy's being completely unreasonable," Rick said. "I was just checking some prices. It's not like I was looking at porn or downloading illegal movies." "It doesn't matter what you were doing," I said. "It's my computer in my office and you don't get to use it without permission." "Fine," Rick said. "I won't touch your precious computer. But you need to understand something, David. Lisa and I aren't going anywhere anytime soon. We're family, and family sticks together." "Actually," I said, "we need to talk about that. This arrangement was supposed to be temporary." Lisa's face fell. "David, please. We're still looking for a place, but everything's so expensive, and Rick's business ventures are just starting to take off." "How long do you need?" "Maybe another month? 6 weeks at most." "Lisa, you said a few weeks when you got here." "I know, but things are more complicated than we thought. Rick's got some deals in the works that could really pay off, but they take time to develop." I looked at Rick, who was nodding enthusiastically. "That's right," he said. "I've got 3 different opportunities that are about to break wide open. Once they do, we'll be able to get our own place. Probably something nicer than this." The casual insult hung in the air like smoke. Lisa either didn't notice or chose to ignore it. "Please, David," she said. "We're so close to getting back on our feet. Just a little more time." I wanted to say no. Everything in me was screaming to end this arrangement before it got any worse. But Lisa was Emily's sister, and despite everything that was happening between Emily and me, I couldn't bring myself to throw her family out on the street. "1 month," I said. "After that, you need to find somewhere else to live." "Thank you," Lisa said, rushing over to hug me. "You won't regret this, I promise." Rick just smirked. "Generous of you, David. Real generous." That night, Emily came home later than usual. I was in the living room, reading and trying to ignore the sounds of Rick's friends on the patio, when she walked in looking exhausted. "Long day?" I asked. "The longest." She sat down on the opposite end of the couch, as far from me as possible. We had a crisis with the product launch, spent the whole day in meetings trying to fix it. "Just you and Marcus?" Emily's jaw tightened. "The whole team was there, David." "But Marcus stayed late to help, right?" "Yes, he stayed late. So did Jennifer and Paul and half the development team. I'm sure he was very helpful." "Don't do this." "Do what?" "Make everything about Marcus. I'm trying to save a product launch that could make or break my career, and all you can think about is whether I'm sleeping with my coworker." "Are you?" The question hung between us like a challenge. Emily stared at me for a long moment, then shook her head. "I can't do this anymore," she said. "Can't do what?" "This United States, living like we're enemies in our own house." "We don't have to be enemies." "Don't we? You look at me like I'm a stranger. You question everything I say. You act like I'm some kind of criminal." "You are having an affair, Emily, and you're using it as an excuse to be cruel." "I'm not being cruel, I'm being honest." "Honest? When's the last time you were honest about anything? When's the last time you told me how you really feel about our marriage, our life, our future?" "I'm telling you now. I feel like my wife is sleeping with another man and lying to me about it." Emily flinched as if I'd slapped her. "That's not what I meant." "It's what I meant." We sat in silence for several minutes, the weight of our mutual resentment filling the room like poison gas. From the patio came the sound of Rick's laughter, loud and obnoxious, and completely inappropriate for the moment. "I want you to move out," Emily said finally. "This is my house too." "I know, but I can't live like this anymore. One of us needs to leave, and since you're the one who can't stand the sight of me, it should be you." "I never said I couldn't stand the sight of you." "You didn't have to. It's written all over your face every time you look at me." She was right, and we both knew it. I couldn't look at her anymore without seeing her with Marcus. Couldn't hear her voice without wondering if she was lying. Couldn't sleep next to her without feeling like a fool. "Where am I supposed to go?" I asked. "I don't know. Get an apartment, stay with Tom, figure it out." "And what about Lisa and Rick?" "What about them? If I leave, you'll be stuck with them." Emily's expression suggested she hadn't considered this. "They're my family. I'll deal with it." "Good luck with that." The next morning, I called Tom and asked if I could crash at his place for a while. He didn't ask questions, just told me to come over whenever I was ready. I packed a bag while Emily was at work, taking only what I needed for a few days. As I was loading my truck, Rick appeared with a cup of coffee and his usual smirk. "Going somewhere?" he asked. "Taking a little break." "Smart move. Sometimes a man needs space to think, clear his head, figure out his priorities." "Something like that." "You know, David, I've been thinking about what you said the other day, about respect and boundaries and all that. And I think you're right." I stopped loading my truck and looked at him. "I am?" "Yeah. A man's home is his castle, right? He should be able to set the rules and expect people to follow them." "Okay. So I want you to know that while you're gone, I'll make sure everything stays exactly the way you left it. Think of me as the caretaker." Something cold crawled up my spine. "What do you mean, caretaker?" "Just keeping an eye on things, making sure nothing gets damaged or stolen. You've got a lot of nice stuff here, David. Electronics, tools, that vintage guitar collection. It would be a shame if anything happened to it." The threat was subtle, but unmistakable. Rick was essentially telling me that my possessions would be held hostage while I was gone. "I'll be back," I said. "Of course you will. This is your home. But take your time, Really think about what kind of life you want to build." I drove to Tom's shop with Rick's words echoing in my head. The bastard had just made it clear that leaving wasn't going to solve my problems. It was going to create new ones. Tom was working on a carburetor when I arrived, his hands steady and sure as he adjusted the mixture screws. "So," he said without looking up, "how bad is it?" "Bad enough that I'm homeless." "You're not homeless. You've got a place here as long as you need it." "Thanks, man, I owe you." "You don't owe me anything. That's what friends are for." I spent the afternoon helping Tom with repairs, losing myself in the simple satisfaction of fixing things that could actually be fixed. But even the familiar routine couldn't quiet the voice in my head that kept asking the same question. What the hell was I going to do now? Living at Tom's place gave me perspective I hadn't expected. His apartment above the shop was small but clean, organized in a way that reflected his straightforward approach to life. Everything had a purpose, everything had its place, and there was no room for bullshit or drama. "You know what your problem is?" Tom said over breakfast on my third morning there. "You've been playing defense for so long, you forgot how to play offense." "What do you mean?" "Emily's cheating on you, her sister's freeloading off you, and her boyfriend's basically holding your stuff hostage. And what are you doing? Running away and hoping it all works out. I didn't run away. I left to give us both space to think. Same thing. You let them control the narrative. Now Emily gets to play the victim, poor abandoned wife whose husband couldn't handle a little family drama. Meanwhile, Rick gets free run of your house and your stuff. I knew he was right, but I didn't know what else to do. So what would you suggest? Stop playing by their rules. Start making your own. That afternoon, I drove back to my house to pick up some clothes and tools I'd need for a job the next day. Emily's car wasn't in the driveway, but Rick's beat-up Honda was parked in my usual spot. I found him in my garage, going through my tool collection with the systematic thoroughness of a professional thief. What are you doing? I asked. Rick looked up casually, a socket wrench set in his hands. Just taking inventory, making sure everything's secure while you're gone. Put those down. Relax, David. I'm not stealing anything, just familiarizing myself with what's here so I can keep an eye on it. I said put them down. Rick's expression hardened. You know what your problem is? You don't trust anybody. Here I am, trying to help you out, and all you can do is accuse me of stealing. You're going through my tools without permission. What would you call it? I'd call it being responsible. Lisa asked me to make sure nothing happened to your stuff while you were having your little breakdown. My little breakdown? That's what it is, isn't it? You couldn't handle the pressure of having real family around, so you ran away to your friend's place to sulk. I stepped closer to Rick, close enough to smell the beer on his breath and see the challenge in his eyes. Get out of my garage. Or what? Or I'll throw you out. Rick laughed. You? Throw me out? Look at yourself, David. You're a middle-aged guy with a failing marriage and a dead-end job. You think you scare me? I think you're about to find out. For a moment, we stood facing each other like gunfighters in an old western. Rick was younger than me, but softer, with the pale complexion of someone who spent more time in front of a computer than in the real world. I had 20 pounds on him and 20 years of physical labor that had kept me in decent shape. Rick must have seen something in my expression that warned him off, because he backed down first. Fine, he said, setting down the socket wrench set. I was just trying to help, but if you want to be paranoid about it, that's your choice. I want you and your family out of my house. That's not your call anymore, is it? Emily's the one who lives here now, and Emily's the one who makes the decisions about who stays and who goes. He was right, and we both knew it. By leaving, I'd given up any practical authority over what happened in my own home. We'll see about that, I said. Yeah, we will. That evening, I called Emily. We need to talk, I said. I'm busy, David. Can this wait? No, it can't wait. I went by the house today and found Rick going through my tools. I'm sure there's an explanation. The explanation is that your sister's boyfriend thinks he can do whatever he wants because I'm not there to stop him. Rick's just trying to help. He's been very responsible about taking care of the house. Taking care of it? Emily, he's treating it like his personal property. You're being paranoid. Am I? Did you know he's been using my office as his business headquarters? Did you know he's been inviting friends over to drink my beer and use my Wi-Fi for his cryptocurrency schemes? There was a pause. He mentioned he was working on some projects. In my house, with my resources, while I'm paying the mortgage and utilities. David, I can't control everything Rick does. I'm working 14-hour days trying to save this product launch. With Marcus? Don't start that again. I'm not starting anything. I'm asking a simple question. Yes, with Marcus. And Jennifer and Paul and the rest of the team. It's called having a job, David. You should try it sometime. The insult stung because it was so unfair. I'd been working steadily for 23 years, supporting our household while Emily built her career. I have a job, I said. You have a job, I have a career. There's a difference. Apparently there is. Your career comes with hotel receipts and fake names. I'm hanging up now. Emily, wait. We need to figure this out. We can't keep living like this. You're right, we can't. That's why I've made an appointment with a lawyer. The line went dead. I sat in Tom's kitchen, staring at my phone and trying to process what had just happened. Emily had beaten me to the lawyer. She was going to control the divorce narrative the same way she'd controlled everything else. Bad news? Tom asked, coming in from the shop. She's filing for divorce. I'm sorry, man. The worst part is, I think I'm relieved. Tom poured himself a beer and sat down across from me. You know what you need to do now? What? Stop reacting to what she does and start making your own moves. Like what? Like talking to that lawyer whose office you wired last week. The one who gave you her card. Patricia Hoffman agreed to see me the next morning. Her office was exactly what I'd expected. Professional, organized, with the kind of quiet authority that came from years of handling other people's disasters. So, she said after I'd explained the situation, your wife is having an affair, her sister and boyfriend have basically moved into your house, and now she's filing for divorce. That's about the size of it. And you have evidence of the affair? I showed her the hotel receipts and told her about the desk clerk's identification of Emily and Marcus as Mr. and Mrs. Webb. This is good, Patricia said. Pennsylvania isn't a no-fault state, which means adultery can affect the division of assets and alimony. What about the house? That depends. Is your name on the deed? Both our names. Then you have every right to be there. In fact, I'd recommend you move back in immediately. What about Emily? What about her? It's your house, too. If she doesn't like it, she can move out. And Lisa and Rick? They're guests in your home. You can ask them to leave anytime you want. For the first time in weeks, I felt like I had some control over my situation. What's my next move? I asked. File a counter-petition. Document everything. The affair, the financial impact of supporting your sister-in-law's family, any damage to your property or violation of your privacy, and move back into your house today. I drove straight from Patricia's office to Tom's shop, packed my bag, and headed home. Emily's car wasn't there, but Rick's Honda was still parked in my spot. I found Rick in my living room, watching my TV and eating food from my kitchen. Lisa was upstairs with the kids, and the house had the lived-in look of people who'd made themselves completely at home. David, Rick said with fake enthusiasm. Back so soon? I thought you were staying at your friend's place. I was. Now I'm back. Everything okay? You look a little tense. We need to talk. Sure. What's on your mind? You and Lisa need to find somewhere else to live. Rick's smile faded. Come again? You heard me. This arrangement isn't working out. I want you gone by the end of the week. I don't think that's your call to make anymore, David. Emily and I talked about this. She's fine with us staying. Emily doesn't live here anymore. What are you talking about? Of course she lives here. Not according to her. She told me to move out because she couldn't stand living with me. So I'm calling her bluff. If she wants to live here, she can come back and we'll work things out. If not, then I'm the one who lives here, and I'm the one who decides who stays and who goes. Rick stood up, his chest puffed out in what I was beginning to recognize as his standard intimidation pose. You can't just kick us out. We've got nowhere to go. That's not my problem. Lisa's your sister-in-law. These are your nieces and nephew. And you're a freeloading asshole who's been treating my house like his personal headquarters. End of the week, Rick. Find somewhere else to live. And if we don't, then I'll have you evicted. You can't evict family. Watch me. Lisa appeared at the top of the stairs, drawn by our raised voices. What's going on? David's trying to kick us out, Rick said. David? Lisa's voice was small and hurt. Why? Because this arrangement was supposed to be temporary and it's gotten out of hand. But we're family. Family doesn't go through each other's mail. Family doesn't use each other's computers without permission. Family doesn't treat each other's homes like hotels. Rick's been trying to help. Rick's been trying to help himself. That's not fair, Lisa said, tears starting to form in her eyes. We've been nothing but grateful for everything you've done. Have you? Because from where I stand, it looks like you've been taking advantage of my hospitality while your boyfriend insults me and violates my privacy. I never insulted you, Rick protested. You called me a loser with no ambition. You said Emily was out of my league. You went through my mail and used my computer and treated me like I was the guest in my own home. I don't care what you were just doing. I want you out. Lisa was crying now, the kind of dramatic tears that had probably gotten her out of trouble her whole life. Please, David. We'll do better. Rick will apologize, won't you, Rick? Rick looked like apologizing was the last thing he wanted to do, but he managed to nod. Yeah, sure. I'm sorry if I crossed any lines. You didn't cross lines, I said. You obliterated them, and now you're out of chances. What about the kids? Lisa asked. Where are we supposed to go with 3 kids? I don't know, but you've got a week to figure it out. Emily chose that moment to come home. She walked through the front door and stopped short when she saw me standing in the living room with her crying sister and defiant boyfriend. What's going on here? She asked. I'm moving back in, I said. David, we talked about this. You can't just… Actually, I can. It's my house, too. If you don't want to live here with me, you're free to leave, but I'm not going anywhere. Emily looked around the room, taking in Lisa's tears and Rick's angry expression and my determined stance. This is ridiculous, she said. We're adults. We should be able to work this out. I agree. So here's how we're going to work it out. Lisa and Rick have 1 week to find somewhere else to live. You and I are going to have a conversation about whether we want to try to save our marriage or end it. And everyone is going to start treating everyone else with basic respect. You can't just make unilateral decisions, Emily said. Watch me. For the first time in months, I felt like I was in control of my own life. It was a good feeling. Emily stared at me for a long moment, and I could see her trying to figure out her next move. Finally, she shook her head. Fine, but I'm not sleeping in the same bed with you. That's your choice. She grabbed her purse and headed for the door. I'll be at Marcus's place. I'm sure you will. After she left, Lisa and Rick retreated upstairs, whispering urgently about their options. I sat in my living room in my house, surrounded by my possessions, and for the first time in weeks, I felt like I was home.